Alright, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. I've been going through a series of video presentations for the Rankin Technical College AWD, Application and Web Development, 1111.NET Framework with Web Databases class. The book for the class, as you can see on the screen, is ASP.NET MVC with Entity Framework and CSS. As I mentioned, I'm doing this a little bit out of order, and what I have done is I have already gone through the first 8 chapters and part of Chapter 9, which I'm going to do right now. Then I went and did chapters 14 through 18. So I'm coming back now, and I'm going to use the finished product. So for Chapter 9, I've already made a copy of and opened up the project for Chapter 10. These are probably going to be shorter lectures, and there'll be less of them, but I'm going to go over 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. I hope to do that by the end of the week and push all of these lectures out to YouTube as soon as possible. Now, if you're already watching this, what I'm doing now is kind of silly because you already know where it is, but I just want to be sure. And that is, I'm going to grab this and I'm going to come out here, kind of big, but you can see it. I'm going to leave that up there for a minute. That's my playlist for the AWD1111.NET Framework with Web Databases class. These are all of the lectures I have done thus far. All right, they're on various different things. And if you do go out to the site, to the playlist site, let's just get rid of this. You're going to find that now there's somewhere around 150 lectures, I think. I don't know. I haven't looked at this for a while. 130 lectures. So by the time I get done, there'll be somewhere around 140 in here. And that's before the class is even started. But you can go out there and listen till your heart's content. All right? Okay. So, jumping back into chapter 9, creating and viewing orders. This chapter covers working with orders, including creating them via a checkout process, viewing the details of orders as either an administrator or a user. Big difference between that, because if I'm going in as an administrator, I'm able to not only see order status, but I'm able to change prices, add items, delete items, etc., and searching or sorting items. We'll use the display and editor templates for the address type covered earlier in the book to simplify some of the view code in this chapter. We don't cover any payment provider integration in this book. All right, so in other words, there's nothing to integrate this to PayPal, etc. If you're interested in doing something like that, just to mention this to you, I mention stuff when it hits me. PayPal has got a thing called a sandbox that you can set up an account as a PayPal developer for a sandbox, and what that'll do, if you want to do that, is it'll allow you to go and add a component to do things like PayPal, and it's not real PayPal in that you're not going to actually be taking orders, but it is real PayPal in that it'll show you how, if you did have PayPal, how things would react. It's kind of neat. So this thing, if you want to register for a sandbox account, oops, no, that wasn't good. You can go out to https://developer.paypal.com/developer/accounts. So again, you probably only need this part, developer.paypal.com/developer/accounts, if you have any interest in that. All right? Okay. We are going to model orders in a similar way to the basket, with an order consisting of a list of order lines. However, when we modeled the basket, we did not store the basket in the database, whereas we are going to store both the order and order lines in the database to model orders. We're going to build a one-to-many relationship between users and orders. So in other words, every one user can have 0, 1, or more orders. So a user can have many orders, but an order is only placed by a single user. Now that should make sense. So we add 2 new classes to the models folder. All right. And you can see here we've got an order, just spread over two pages. All right. An order ID, a user, a deliver to, a delivery name and address, a total price. All right. What else do we have in there? The date and time the order was made, and we've got a list of all of the things that make up the order. And you'll notice there is some annotations in here to set it up, things that are type currency or whatever. Then we've got the order line. So this is the individual information about orders. So each order, part of an order has an ID, an order ID, a product ID, a quantity, a product name, a unit price, and these things so that we're able to link to other tables. All right. So as mentioned here, the 2 new classes represent an order and the lines, sometimes referred to as order details. All right. From the basket for the order. We store the product name property in each order lines to maintain a record of the product bought, even if the actual product entity is deleted from the database. We also store the unit price in the order lines because this is the price at the time of the order. In the future, this definitely could change. So remember, if somebody does put something in a basket, that's not the same as them buying it. So I can place an item in a basket and then leave it there and come back maybe a month later and it'll still be there, but the price could conceivably have changed. Now, my wife went and bought a bed set. All right, my wife went and bought a bed set about a month ago for one of the extra rooms in our house. And when she got it home, she loved the way it looked, except she said that part of it, the pattern was off and it slanted and it looked weird to her. She is very much a perfectionist, so that bothered her. All right, I couldn't even tell, to be honest with you. All right, but she bought it on sale, she took it back, and she ordered another one. Well, they were willing to give it to her at the same price as the sale price. All right, they honored that. That's basically done that way because she had already bought it. Had she not bought it when it was on sale and then went to buy it now, the store by no means probably would give it to her at the sale price. Okay? All right. Entity Framework 6, as it says in the note here on the bottom of page 334, does not support cross-database queries. Therefore, we have not included a navigational property to the application user class in the order class. Rather, Entity Framework will be used to manually relate a user to an order. Okay. Next, we update the data access layer store content.cs to ensure that the database context creates references to the new tables. All right. Page 335, creating sample order data and updating the database. Before we proceed with updating the database for the new order and order lines, we're going to add some extra code to the seed method to create some sample orders. So in other words, we want to come in here and we want to add some products. Not some products. We want to add some orders and the order lines that make up those orders. They mention here on 336, the author says, ensure that you added the using system, which is there by default anyway. Here, the date created property is used to distinguish which orders to update, and the order ID property is used to decide which order lines to update. These properties are used because the dates are unique and in the past. Therefore, the seed method won't get any conflicts with new orders. And we know that the order ID starts from 1 in sequence. That's the easiest way, as the author mentions here, to ensure that we don't get conflicts when updating order lines. Next, open the Package Manager console and run these two things. So add the migration, which says you've made the changes, and then tell it to update the database. So when you do that and you come in, you should now see that you've got an orders table and an order lines table. All right, and here is the schema. I shouldn't say really that. These are the column names. But if we bring them up, we can see the schema. The orders table contains fields prefixed with delivery address to represent the delivery address fields, because the order class contains a delivery address property, which is composed of an address type. Next, it says come in and view the data. All right, so there it is. That's from the order lines, and that's the sample order. In order to start managing the order data, we need to add a new controller called Orders Controller to the Controllers folder. We do this using the scaffolding option that we've talked about before. We choose MVC Controller with views using Entity Framework. We base it on the Order Model class, and we use the store context. So in other words, Figure 9.4 on page 339 shows what this should look like. All right. In the new controller, delete the edit and delete methods, as we're not using them. It's kind of an important thing to realize, and that is you don't want code bloat. It's much easier to go back in if you need those later and add them than it is, all right, to leave them there and not ever use them. Not that that's a big thing with code bloat in this example, but just it's a good thing to realize and recognize anyway. To make an order or view orders, you must be logged in. So first it says annotate the orders controller class with authorize as shown right here. Should mention too, it's not a big thing, but when I come in here and remove these things, if I don't remove them, I've already done the work that I have to do to produce these. So it's just getting rid of some intermediate types of files. But if I don't do this, it'll add those files onto the project I'm currently doing. That can make for some headaches, I have found. I am not at all an expert on the use of Camtasia, but I know a lot of things to not do when you're working with Camtasia. All right. So by putting that authorize in there, as the author says, this will ensure that a user must be logged in to use the methods of the order controller class. Next, to display a list of orders, we come in and update the index method as is shown right here in order to control what is shown to the user. When an admin user is logged in, they can see every order, but when a normal user is logged in, they can only see their own orders. And again, that should make sense. So if your admin, show you everything. Otherwise, just show you your stuff. You know, in much the same way, I work at Rankin Technical College. I can go into our intranet site and I can see all sorts of information about myself. All right. So when I moved, I had to give them a change of address, and I never went in to check it, but our head of HR, Janice, who's terrific, told me that she had updated my records, and I'll take her at her word. But if I wanted to, I could go in. By the same token, I could not go in and see my boss, Charles. I couldn't see his information because I don't have the right to see that. All right. All right, next, we modify the auto-generated views order.index.cshtml file so that the heading is updated and the order ID is shown. Ensure that links to create, edit, and delete orders are removed. So this is only going to be allowing you to show you information about your order. This file, it says, uses the @html.display4 to display the details of the delivery address for the order. This in turn uses the address.cshtml file that was created earlier in the project. To see the new index method, go into the website without debugging, and they give you an example right there. So they want you to go to orders to access the orders index page. Now, I have brought up the chapter 10, so I have the finished product. So I'm going to go to views, orders, and I'm going to right mouse click on index and view it in the browser. Still is giving me those errors, but and I'm butting up to where I almost want to finish the first part of this lecture. We'll go a few more pages. We'll get up to placing an order on page 345. All right. Now, if I do log in here, as it says, if I do log in as an administrator, now I can see all of the orders. So you can see I've got user 6, user 2, and admin. I can click and find the details on any order. Okay. Etc. But this is just a listing that's in here. All right. It is designed to be read-only. Says now log in as the user, as this user, using the password. So let's do that. So I'm logging off. All right, I'm going to log back in. As user 5, and the password is password. That will log me in, and when I do that, and I go over here, and I go over to the orders page, all right, you'll notice that I only see things for me. I don't see everything as I did before, because again, as a quote regular user unquote, I don't have admin privileges. All right. It says this time you will see that you will not see any orders because the user has not yet placed any orders, and this user cannot see any of the other orders on the system. Exactly what I just showed you. All right. All right. Let's go through this section right here for displaying the order details, and that'll be it for this part of the lecture. So, to display the order details, first update the details method of the controller class. This modification is necessary to ensure that a user cannot view other users' orders. The code will only allow users to view the detail of an order if either they're an admin or they're the person who placed the order. It also includes the order lines property. Okay. So again, if they're the person who created the order or their admin. Otherwise, we just return something that says they're unauthorized. Next, update the details.cshtml file to display the order lines related to each order. So that's giving them the information regarding their order. I've already done this, so I already showed you an example of that where I logged in as the administrator and then I clicked the details button. So here is an example, very similar to what I've already done. All right. If you now log in as one of the users who is not in the admin role, and you go as it says there, you will be prompted to log in. Unless you log in as a user, you will be continuously returned to the login page. So in other words, if I log in as user 5 and I somehow attempt to go in and see user 1's information, I will not be able to do so. All right. Before we start on the placing order, I'll have that be in the next part of what I'm working on. All right, I just want to show you this. It's not a big thing, but I did want to mention it. And that is that right now, if I go over to here, all right, these are all the different tapes I've already done. But if we go over, notice there is a Chapter 9. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to edit that. Right there. Bring that up. And I'm going to edit the video. And I'm just going to change that to Part 1-old. All right. Now the new ones will not say new on them. All right. They will not say new on them. But I'm going to have to annotate it some way because as I save this, there already is a Chapter 9 Part 1 in there. I'll deal with that myself. Be back with Part 2 in just a couple minutes.